experience of space.
Yes.
Yes,
What
definitely.
experience? A night pass?
The feeling of being in space, the,
Oh, the feeling of being in space. Well, space is three things that are different than down here, and that's the art of the mission. And it's not a compulsive type A kind of thing you do, but it's how smooth, how you pull it off. It's like theater, it's like ballet, it's like figure skating, it's how do you pull it off? You know, how do you do a good show? How do you do a good athletic event? It's not compulsive type A, it's not trying to perfect it because you're rigid. It's you enjoy the art form. It's like whatever you do in life, you just try to choreograph a great plan, and I brought the term choreograph to NASA, particularly for doing spacewalks, in which I brought the ballet, I brought Dorothy Hamill figure skating, and that kind of thing to spacewalking. She got her own talents, her own experience and passions and what she wants to do, and she does it until she's converged upon a final solution. That's what she's going to do at the Olympics, and then through repetitive practice, you get where you can do it when it matters. So I did that with spacewalking. But I also had a sense of the same thing when it comes to pulling off a great mission, and that's the art of the mission. The other two parts about spaceflight, what you see out the window and the zero-G. And so what you see out the window is just spectacular in all kinds of ways, and I can't express all the different aspects of how you do that. I also have a performance called Photography from Space, how you become a great space photographer, what the elements are to be had. Being a space photographer as well as being just in the window and looking, although I always have a camera there because you don't know what she's going to bless you with. The other parts about Spaceflight Welcome is zero gravity. Now, you've seen the kind of fun we're having with zero gravity, but it's also a serious side in which you, as an evolutionary creature, and you are a gravitational person, and you've been it for 4 billion years, if probably all of life as we know it came from the same place, and looking at DNA and RNA, other biochemical parameters, it's very likely that all of us life, us, the plants, other creatures, microorganisms that were incredibly similar at the genetic level, we probably came from the same life source. None of that precludes a divine being or a sense of creation. We just don't tell her how she did it. It does not preclude a divine being. Nothing I say does. I just try to listen to her and get it. I never will, but I try. I try to listen to the universe and let it speak to me as to how things happen. But a serious side of zero-G is to step outside of yourself and be cognitively aware of your consciousness, your sensory system, as to how it is trying to cope with zero gravity when, as an evolutionary creature, it is not. It's not a zero-G creature. It's a 1G based. And gravity, especially we got into space flight, we found out how important gravity is to our sense of three-dimensional world. It's part of our element, and we use gravity all the time to be able to locomote, to be able to perceive three-dimensional space. And so that's what space is about. It makes it different than down here. If you want to go into any particulars, now you want some particulars.
how did it affect your three-dimensional view of things, being on space?
Yeah. You play games to make it come out the way you want to play games. But let me give you one example. I worked on Hubble for 17 years. I designed it in terms of its serviceability, its maintainability. They told me in 1975. Lyman Spitzer Prince got the idea of putting a big telescope in space. It's absolutely perfect viewing, and that's one of the, maybe the best reasons for being in space is the grand observatories that we can put there. But from 75 on, they told me we're going to put a big telescope in space, and we want you on a spacewalk to be able to repair anything that might go wrong with it. So every single piece on Hubble, I need to design the tools and the procedures to fix it, to change out the piece or to fix it, tune it up, whatever, out there in space. I did not plan on us putting the wrong mirror in the telescope.
Oh, sure, you just wanted to go up
No, I
and
had
fix
to
it.
be, I had to be very, very creative about that. Welcome. It's nice to have you again. Yes. So, now for 75 years, I designed that thing, 17 years, I designed that thing to be serviceable up there, taking into consideration a spacesuit in a zero-G environment. It's not zero-G, it's a free fall condition. We all know that. You know, what?
I don't know the difference.
Oh, okay. Everybody in space attracts each other. And so we have an attraction between you and Earth, and you stand on a scale, that's the attraction that you have between you and Earth. All bodies attract each other. The amount of attraction is Newton's universal law of gravitation. It's just a little equation that says this body of a certain mass, that body of a certain mass, the attraction is going to be that much. So Earth has a certain mass. You weigh a certain amount here. If you had a scale on the moon, which is 1/6 the mass of Earth, you're going to weigh 1/6. And so that's the gravity. Now, out there in space, and so Newton's universal law looks at the distance between this body and that body. And the force between the two is in relationship to the square of the distance between the two. And so, but the difference between the center of Earth, and that's 4,000 miles. So when we're out here on Earth, all this gravitational stuff only looks at the center of the Earth, center of gravity of the Earth. And so the distance between 4,000 miles and 4,200 miles is nothing. So the difference in gravity in space is the relationship between 4,000 miles and 4,200 miles. It's almost nothing. And so there's only slightly less gravity out there. It is the free fall condition in which you're out in space, but you still have the attraction to Earth. And it's that horizontal velocity, you're going fast enough that as you fall towards Earth, you never get to Earth because you're continuing to fall around the curvature of Earth. If you flew absolutely straight up, yes, you're way out in space and you say there's no gravity, it's okay. It's not okay. You're going to hit the, the Earth will turn a little bit, you're coming straight. And you're coming straight back down. So, we are in a free fall condition. So I designed a telescope based to accommodate a suit. Now, I'll give you one little thing about a suit. A suit doesn't have the same body you got, and that's the critical thing. Yes, the suit is bulky. And so NASA always told people, the newcomer astronauts and all the suit is bulky. Well, it's more than bulky. It is very bulky, and you don't have much tactility, and this, very thick and heavy. Critical thing about a suit, it doesn't have your body. And so I got a wonderful shoulder joint 360. I'm ball and socket. I know my anatomy, and I use my physician's experience a lot in the physiology and the design of space suits. I'm ball and socket. So I can take the shoulder joint and I can go everywhere beautiful like this. I can also slide it, very critical to a space suit, back and forth. That ball and socket is sliding on a rib cage 4 or 5 inches. And that's a beautiful thing. I have a ball and socket and a wonderful shoulder joint. The suit doesn't have a shoulder joint. It can't have a shoulder joint, you see, because the suit has to encompass the shoulder. And so the suit is like that. And so it can't be ball and socket, and it's not. So while I can do this, the suit can't. It's only got a single bearing here. It's got a single plane here. So the suit not going to do what I do. So, and it's the philosophy I gave to every incoming class about what a suit is. A suit, there's a suit. It got a different body than you got. You got your body and the suit body. Put the two together and now work. Think that way. Think, I have a new body. I have to learn how to work. So, I don't know y'all thinking that. I don't even have to think. Hang on. Think. You know why I don't have to think? I am not watching my hand go to that and guiding it because it gets off. I just do this. You know why I can just do that? Because through memory, I'm putting in all the forces. I look at where it is, I look at what I got to do, and I put in all the forces that I know it's going to take to get there. So I put in all the muscles. I do it ahead of time. I don't have to think. I don't have to guidance. But you get in a suit, and you go to reach out, and you, uh-oh, I missed. Whoops. I tell people, don't do that. Every single move you make, you must error correct. Error correct from the start. Error correct means I can't do this. Error correct means pay attention, give it attention. Watch the fingers go in there, and when they get off here, pull them back. Pull them back. Error correct until you're there. That's what I have to do in a suit. It's not going to body you got, and if you think you're going to put in all the nominal forces you always have to get there, it's not going to work. So concentrate. Everything you do, concentrate and focus. Now, you do that enough in a suit. Now you do it unconsciously. I can do it unconsciously in a suit too. So that's a suit. Yes, it's bulky, not got the same body, get used to that. if in a suit you're doing this, you can't do that. On a single plane, see, you can't, if you're doing this, you can't do that. It's not wrong side. So if you're doing this, the first thing you have to do is take the elbow and come around to here where you've rotated that plane into this plane. So if you're doing this, do not try to do that. You cannot. If you're doing this, do that and then this. And if you're doing this, you can't do that. Do that and then that.
How long does it take to get used to that correction?
It goes fast. But I also, in my design of the suit, I did do the first shuttle spacewalk because I helped design the new suit. That's a suit they're using and have used the last week. That same suit and a life support system that goes on the back to give you the physiology, the cooling, and the gases. So you don't need an umbilical. In the design of the suit, I put red indicators along here to tell you where you could not move. And so the red stripe that I put on the suit, I matched the red stripe up with the bearing and the joint. And so wherever you see the red bearing, it means you can't go there. So if you see the red here, it means you cannot raise your arm. If you see the red here, it means you can't go this way. So I put the red there until people, now once you get used to it, you feel. And you feel you can't get there, so you do this almost reflexively. But until you get used to it, and if you want to use the red indicator, it's there to tell you where you can't go. So if it's sitting here, the first thing you do is rotate the red out of the way, and now I can do that. So it's all getting used to a new body, and the other part about walking out there is the zero gravity, where everything is in constant motion, it's got to be on a tether. The whole thing, so a tool bag got loose. Apparently I was in travel, wasn't watching that spacewalk. The tool bag got loose on space station last week. Or this week, I guess that was. Now in the shuttle program, I'm getting off. I'm going to get back. I'm going to get back. You know, I'm going to get back to the question. My Alzheimer's ain't that bad. But these are fun. They're fun things. On the shuttle, if you ever lose a tool, they'll bring it back to your hand. You yell tool chase and you sit out there like this. It's kind of fun. I never lost a tool, but I'd have fun. There's two pilots inside. Say, oh, I was kind of sloppy on that. See, you got a tool in a box like that, big box, and I designed those over 17 years. So you got a big box. All the tools in your tool box are on a little tether. There's a string tether that goes out like that. Every got to be tethered so it's going to go off. And if you need this tool to do that job, you're going to ban the telescope. Trash it, throw it away. There's certain tools you must have to get the job done. Now the ones you really must have, you're going to trash the telescope, I put two of them on. If a tool is so critical, I have to trash the telescope, and I ways to trash the telescope. It's very easy to trash it. You can trash it where it's not survivable. You leave it in a condition where it cannot survive, and you have to come home. It's done, it's finished. So that's, you're working like that. But the ones, if you lose a tool, you have to trash the thing, I put two on board. But tools are all on a little tether. So the first thing you do is take one of your tethers off and put it on the tool. So it's tethered with two tethers, and then you take the tether to the box off, and now you have the tool. If you're unfortunate to lose a tool, you yell tool chase, and you put your hand up like this, and the pilots on board will fly the tool back to your hand. Now, they're not flying the tool, they're flying the shuttle to the tool. But you don't know that. You're giving them a test. Tool chase, tool chase. and man, they're on the cue card. They're good. And it's happened. It's happened a lot of times. And this is not just, maybe they can fly. They do fly back to you. Now, if it's coming down in the back of the bay, if it's coming down back there, you'll pretend you're a little squirrel and you go to the bay to save gas. If you see it's coming down at the back of the ship, you'll save them some gas. But if you're lazy, you just sit there and then put it. They say, come on, Story, help us out. Like Holly say, look what we're doing for you. Help us out. Come on, Story, help. I'm being dramatic because I didn't lose a tool. But that's how good, that's a good flying machine. And so they fly. And all they're doing is down the hand controllers, Down the hand controllers. They just bring it right to you. So that's what you do if you have a loose tool. Now, if your body gets loose, if you get loose, they
That's
don't
too
have.
much, Ace?
No, they don't. You don't yell body. You do not yell body chase. Because you're telling 20 million people you are really sloppy. So, you yell tool chase a little more urgently. Tool chase, tool! It's okay to come get you. Now,
If they like you, otherwise.
otherwise, yes. In my case, oh no. Let him go. When you're on the station, they can't chase. The station cannot chase the tool. It doesn't have that much maneuverability, it doesn't have much gas. You just can't push it that hard. So, like we lost something this week. If your body gets loose, you do have a little jetpack in the back now doing station. My station can't come get to you. So, and the version I got into there was about the lack of gravity. There is gravity there, and it's the motion that keeps you out there. Now back to the other point about zero-G and how you do three-dimensional geometry. Should we, oh, we'll leave the door open, I guess. Should we leave the door open? Yeah, in case it gets more. I'll give you one example. Every time, as soon as I got hardware to practice on a real telescope, the telescope was up. I got the aperture door that lets the light from the heavens in. I got a base down here. Every time I ever played on a real telescope, it sat like this in the gravitational field. The top was up and the bottom was down, and the gravity like this. Even in the water tank, when I'm practicing my three-dimensional stuff in the water tank, I can talk about details of water, but again, it may be too many details. So water's only a semi-good simulator, not a great one. I'll get off on that tank. In space, my suit floats, and I float inside the suit. So everything floats. Everything floats. The suit floats, and I'm floating inside my suit. I hardly have any contact at all. I'm in a suit down here, and I'm like this. I got 170 pounds held mostly by my face, a little bit by my crotch when I'm this way. But I'm in a water tank, and I go upside down like this. I'm holding 170 pounds on my shoulders, and it's bad. I can barely raise my arms, and I cannot function like I'm out in space. So if you use the water to test what jobs can I do, what jobs can I not do, the water is not good for that. Even in a water tank, telescope is always like this. So my conditioning and my learning, telescope is always upright, and that's the gravitational field. When I go into space, the telescope determines gravity for me. The telescope, the top's up and the bottom is down. So me, an evolutionary creature that needs to know the direction of gravity, that's the direction of gravity. Now, if the telescope is hanging toward Earth, it doesn't matter. The Earth is above me. Okay, doesn't matter. I'm floating on the Earth. See? The telescope is dictating the gravitational direction to this biological being. Even with a telescope hanging off the shuttle towards Earth, the Earth is up. Because the telescope, I cannot change that direction. I'll put the tool in the wrong direction. You are so paralyzed, if you change that direction, you can't even put the wrench on the boat. You're that paralyzed. You are paralyzed. You can't even do anything if you don't maintain the right direction. If we were to launch this room, the room you're in right now, and it's out there in zero-G, you'd say that's down, that's up. The lights in the ceiling are up and the floors are down. Now throughout the architecture of spaceflight, they have all been 1G architects, 1G architecture. They got a ceiling, and they got the lights up there, and they got the floor and that down there. There's no carpet, but it's steel. But there's no lights on the floor. Now they could have designed, they could have had architecture. They could have had architecture up there that reflected zero-G, but they don't. And so they probably locked down. So you're in a room like this, up there, here's the gravitational direction. If you don't do anything, there's a gravitational direction. But if in a shuttle where your window's in the ceiling, and you kick off and you float up to the windows now, you have your peripheral vision that senses that's a gravity direction. But once you get a face full of Earth, towards Earth, because Earth usually down. See? Yeah. Earth is normally down.
The enemy gets it.
But you fly under it when you have to. So you put gravity where you need to there. And so that's one example of how do you function without gravity. When you need gravity, you make it and you put it where you want to have it. Even though the physics says you're in a free fall condition and there's no perceptual gravity. Now there's all kinds of fun. There's all kinds of fun you can have with that little game. So I was sleep floating. Well, no, I'll give you one example. Then we'll go somewhere else so we don't spend too much time just on this. On my very first flight in space, it's bedtime and my friends are putting the sleeping bags on the floor because that's where it belongs. That's comfortable, right? Put sleeping bags on the floor. And I see them, and they put sleeping bags on the floor, and they get in the bag, and they get inside the bag. So the bag, and some of them strap their heads. They don't like the heads floating on their neck all night long. And they don't, you'll see pictures, you've seen movies of some of the movies. That's stage. Sorry, stage.
Oh.
I've flown with 27 different people, and I'm a people watcher. I don't think there's any human on earth that's flown with 27 other people, but I watched every one of them to see, you know, how the fish takes the water, or how the fish takes the land, in this case, space. And so, 27 different people, I flew with 17 rookies. So I see them just getting their sea legs out there. So I study people. So it's not only my own perceptions and my own experience of space. I'm getting all their experience too. The picture you saw with all the bodies out there and the hands at this stage, they don't sleep that way because they don't like the arms wandering around. That's disturbing and it's stressful. Because the arm is not supposed to wander around at night. So they crawl inside and it's straps. The straps across the sleeping bag. So there's a strap right here. You get your arms underneath the strap and you feel good. There's also a strap with your head.
To avoid restless arm syndrome.
Well, the arms floating around and the head floating around the neck. It doesn't happen. Down here, you know,
Right.
gravity takes you there.
Russell's head syndrome.
So, well, I said, my goodness, I worked all this time to get into space. Space is precious time. And I always think about what I can do different in space. You know, what I can do to flesh out what space is and have a real space experience. And so, I put my sleeping bag on the ceiling. It's the first night in space. I put my sleeping bag on the ceiling so they can have the floor. I can't do that down here. So I put the bag in there. I thought I was being courageous.
And you're looking down at them?
Yes,
Your back is to the ceiling?
yes,
And you're facing them and they're facing up?
yes.
Well, then again, if you think
You're
about
at
it,
the
you
point. You're getting the
Yeah,
point.
so he's on
That's
the
what's
point.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's
That's what's
a
gonna-
little freaky.
No, it's gonna, well, wait, it gets worse.
They can spit it
So,
in.
I think, boy, I'm a real explorer, right? I think, wow, I'm a different one. I'm gonna be the explorer here.
Huh?
I'm gonna be testing the water. Oh no, I wasn't. When I slipped in the bag, it turned around and there on the ceiling.
Right.
Because the bed is an incredibly strong stimulus to orient yourself to gravity. I mean, beds are down. The bed is here and the gravity is going this way. And how you talk about whether you slept in your belly or your back depends upon gravity to your side. So the bed is a strong stimulus that gets a hold of you. The second I slipped in the bag and it's starting to get a hold of me, the whole world went, "Stop!" My buddies are all on the ceiling. Because the bed became a stronger stimulus to the gravitational direction than the fact there's a ceiling and a floor. So I said, I'm not so courageous after all. I am the one who's on the floor, and they are the explorers because they're on the ceiling.
when you're in gravity, it's hard to stand up for a long time. Like you need to sit down or something.
Yes.
But when you're in space, do you ever like have to sit down because there's no gravity?
No.
Like,
And so most of the time standing up, if it gets tiresome, it's because you're pulling blood. You're pulling a liter of blood. From here down, and you're pulling blood in the arms like this, you're pulling blood down in the legs like that. And that is why, and it may be muscular, but most of the time that fatigue you get is because you have to move the blood uphill and you got nothing to move it uphill. The veins have got little contraction, but you don't have much mechanism to get the blood uphill. So the right heart is sucking. The right heart is out of blood and it's trying to suck blood up. And so that's why you get tired. Now you don't have that there, you have other things. All the blood moves up here into the chest. And so you get a fat head because you have so much blood. You have more blood than you need in zero gravity. And so you tend to get swelling in the face. And you get hoarseness because even though you don't have an infection, you get congestion in here. Like you had a cold even though you don't have a cold because there's so much blood there.
Does exercise help that, to get the blood moving out to the limbs?
No, I won't push it out there. So you pee it out. You pee it out day one. You pee it out within hours of getting in space because the system detects I have more fluid than I need. And I won't go into all the hormones, but there's hormones that adjust how much fluid you have. And the hormones keep enough blood in your system such when you jump up, you have enough extra blood to be able to pull it in here and there. You pee it out within hours. So within 8 hours, you peed out enough to have the right volume for space flight. It's just the way the body adapts.
So getting dehydrated is slightly different? You would need less fluid
You
in
need
general
less
to
fluid.
take in?
You need
Yeah.
less. But it's good to drink. It's good to drink and pee. So I drink piles of lemonade. But now I knew about all these things. Even before my first flight, I slept heads down. So I have a bed. I put cinder blocks under the feet of my bed, so I'd sleep heads down. So before I go into space, I have this headward shift of fluid, and my body got used to having blood stuffed up here. And so most common symptom of being in space is headaches due to this fluid shift. I never had them, and I never got the fat head because I adjusted ahead of time. And it's mysterious. It's, people look at you superstitious, just sleeping with cinder blocks under there. And I
High-tech
jacked them
solution.
up. The high-tech solution. But if it's super, no one's going to do that, you see. I can never convince NASA this is a good thing to do and run a controlled experiment. Just ask people, do you want to do this? We'll measure your physiology. You don't want to do this? Okay, you're in this group. Where people sleep heads down, where people don't sleep, how's it go? So it never caught on as an experiment, never caught on as something to do. However, the people that flew with me said, yeah, he just keeps doing what he does. He don't care. Spaceflight, he rolls out of the chair. He doesn't get sick of it. He doesn't have a headache. He doesn't have anything. He rolls out of the chair and he's going 100 miles an hour day one. I mean, it doesn't matter. But that's for other philosophical reasons that I do that. But I don't get a, he said, he doesn't have a fat head. He don't have a headache. Oh, okay. Enough people saw what I do in space. They said, he's onto something, man. We got to listen to the guy. And so then wooden blocks, no one said they're doing an experiment except wooden blocks were appearing they were appearing in the quarters where we go at Kennedy Space Center.
Right.
So the wooden blocks in the closet tell me they're not admitting to it, but they're putting blocks on
Right,
but that was that. But quickly another philosophy, and that is the idea of conquering space. You see, back in the 50s, we said we're going to conquer space. Conquer space, you're not going to conquer space. There's no such thing as conquering space. My attitude was, I'm going to surrender to space. Do something to me, baby. You do touch me. I'm not going to conquer you. I'm going to be surrendered to you. And the more things you do to me, the more I like it. So funny things happen to me, I just love it. Funny things happen to other people, get all disturbed. And so I want funny things to happen, and I want disorientation, and I want to perceive the biological, evolutionary biological creature trying to cope with what's going on. And that was space comfortable for me. So it's a little bit of philosophy too. And it's where one culture joins another. If you want to understand that culture, you don't bring the guns. You surrender to the other culture, and then they take care of you. So you don't need to bring the guns. Guns is one way to take care of yourself. But surrendering to the other culture is the real way to take care of yourself. Because they say you're one of us. You're giving yourself over to us, so we take care of you. You see, that's the way the world should work. But in relationship to spaceflight, if you want to have funny things happen, and you say, I'm going to surrender to you, do it to me, then you get very comfortable. So that's one way, that's one facet of adapting to space.
Do your vertebrae, do there more space in between, like when you get up in the morning, you're
Yes,
taller? Do
it's
you
true.
have that?
You are taller. You are taller. If you do a very fine measurement, you're tallest in the morning and shortest when you go to bed at night. And that is because all your cartilage is real. And so, I got cartilage here in my knee, between that bone and this bone. And when I stand up like this, the cartilage is being squeezed like this, and you're squeezing water out of it. And every single little vertebral disc between each one of my bones in here, it's cartilaginous disc. It absorbs water, you know, and it's squeezed out during the day. And at night, you're like this, there's no force, and it absorbs water. So with a fine measurement, you're probably 3/4 of an inch taller in the morning, but the same thing happens in space flight. And you make your spacesuit about 1 inch to 1.5 inches longer. Then you have it down here so that when you've expanded yourself, you can fit in it. Now I wear the tightest possible suit that I can. I wear an unbearably tight suit because it's better. I get more done, and it's actually squeezing me down once I get it on because it's so tense. But it's the difference between a thermal glove and a surgeon's glove, a tight kind of suit. Now, it's also the reason so many astronauts hurt their backs when they get home. So you have a much better chance of injuring your back in the morning. So you've got to get warmed up in the morning, and the opportunity, I don't know if any of you had a bad back, but you can't mess with your back very early in the morning. You don't have the margin because your back is so much bigger. And so you wait. You know, if you're going to do heavy work, you'd like to warm it up and then let it compress for an hour or so before you get into heavy work. Anybody else? What you know?
When I came in, you were talking about the suit and the first time. I know it costs the taxpayers thousands of dollars a minute or an hour for you guys to be up there doing your jobs, and every second is planned out. But even though I'm a taxpayer, I love to hear about, gee, I had 2 minutes to look at the Earth, and I saw this, or I got to see the moon rising.
Yeah.
Did that ever happen to you? Because that is worth my money to hear about that.
It happened to me.
Did you have a chance to like just sit back and say,
Endless
take
chances.
it all in there?
Endless chances, but I parallel process. I was doing that when I was working on a telescope. And so, yeah, I got 22 turns on the tool. 1, 2, 3. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'm listening. I'm feeling the torque coming back at me. That tells me how it's going. Well, you see? Sure.
Let's look around.
I got 1,000-mile aurora over northern Canada while I'm working on
Oh,
telescope.
wow.
At that point, I stopped, set the tool down, and said, oh, wow.
Oh, well.
So yes, you do all the time.
You see the aurora while you're on
Yes,
the
and I
stage?
take night passes. I take night passes. Night passes is you get consensus from your crew members, you can turn all the lights off. You have to get consensus. You can't run around and turn everything off.
Surrender.
It's a very serious thing. I had 2 flights, they never allowed me to turn the lights off. I could have killed No, it's very
Body
serious.
chase.
It's a very serious problem. I had 2 flights, and not one time could I turn the lights off and look at the stars. What I'm talking about.
People just get scared.
They don't care. No, they don't care. They simply don't care. There's no part. No, we don't need to go there. I'm saying that our people don't want to do the stars. They don't want to do aurora. They don't want to do sunsets.
Sad.
They don't want to do nightly lucent light. They don't want to do the moon rose light. They don't want any part of that.
How do you get to be an astronaut without that kind of imagination?
Because there's a variation of people.
Yeah.
You got those people, you got those people.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's that. I always try to plant the seeds ahead of time. That I would like to do that, and I plant the seeds about the rewards of doing that. So I try to get ahead of that before we go. But then you see a time in the flight plan that there's absolutely nothing going on that requires anyone to be in a flight deck upstairs with all the windows. So there's nothing going on. Nothing. So then you walk around, you cue each person. I would like to do what's called a night pass. I would like to be upstairs and turn all the lights off. Would you like to join me? It's okay. If you need to be up there, it's okay. And so my last flight, I got more night passes than all the others put together because they understood and they appreciated that, and occasionally they join me. Most of the time they don't, but occasionally someone will join me on these night passes. So I got more because I operated a satellite, so my duties were on the PC to operate a satellite. Satellite was doing great. So I know it's good for a couple hours, fold the lid down. So you fold all the lids down, all the rheostats get totally dark, and they have blankets between you and the flight deck and the mid-deck downstairs where other people are. Gets rid of all the lights. You get totally black up there. Totally dark adaptation. Now, you can elect to do the red goggles, which lets you get dark adaptation before the sun goes down. And so, you know, it's a good half an hour. If you really want good dark adaptation, half an hour. So if you really want, when the sun goes down, to be able to have great eyes for everything out there instantly, you know, when the sun goes down, then you put your red goggles on. But you miss the sunset. You know, so it's a trade-off. You miss the sunset because the sunset's not so good. It's distorted red goggles. It doesn't mean much. So you take your pick. Red goggles or not red goggles. So I did some of each. Sunset is outrageous. It's 16 times faster, you know, because you are going 16 times. You bring the sun up and down. It's not going up and down. You bring it up and down. 16 times faster. And it goes down and that fast. And the sunlight is a very hard ball. And it's a single source of light. So down here, when you're out in the light here, you get reflection off the sky, off the clouds, off the buildings, everywhere. Out there, sun is about as big as your thumbnail. It's a hard single source, so the shadows are razor sharp. You have black and you have white, and that's all there is to it. The shadows are razor sharp because you only have one source of light.
No penumbra, no little, you know, both
Nothing.
sides of the sun thing.
Oh,
You hit the left side of the sun.
smart
right
guy.
side.
Wow.
But you can't see that with your eye, right?
Well, give me a hydrogen alpha filter, some or other. I know the sun is a hard ball. It's for the naked eye. This is a sun gazer, you know. It's a hard white. It's not yellow. It's solid. It's the purest white you can imagine when you're doing it. Are you an astronomer?
No,
You're a what?
map maker.
Map?
Map maker.
Oh, okay. But it's great. The sun is an absolutely hard ball. It is pure white. It isn't yellow. And the sun out there, you have to be careful because there's no warning when you're going to swing your eyes into the sun. So down here, you have clouds and you have the bright reflection in the sky. And when you start turning your head, the sky gets very bright. It warns you. So down here, just intuitively, you don't get the sun in your eye because you sense where the sun is. You see, here's where the sun is. I know where the sun is. It's over there. But out there's no warning. And so all of a sudden, zap! It's like a hard ball, right? So you get used to memorizing where the sun is as it traverses. And you see the sun move. You see it moving across the sky because it's got to get from there to there in half an hour. So you're able to see it, you're able to see the stars. You're moving those things, you're able to see it go. And so that's the sun. So it's an interesting light that you're having a cargo bay and other objects. It's beautiful in its own kind of way. It's obviously not as beautiful as Earth. But in its own kind of funny way, it's very beautiful that you have such absolutely sharp, razor sharp shadows between the light and the no light, the blackness and the whiteness and all that. And I helped them design Mission to Mars for 4 months, and I helped them do the single source light. It's all the light out there, so I said put the light as far away as you can and a powerful spotlight and only have one source of light. So if you look at the lighting at Mission to Mars, you'll see they caught it just like space flight. Now, so the sunsets are 16 times faster. They're absolutely gorgeous, every single one. You never miss one. See, you get them every single time. It's so fantastically sharp, and you're outside the atmosphere, so there you got it. Very fast and very sharp and very beautiful. And you got all the cumulus, you have cumulus clouds, you know, silhouette in the background, all that kind of stuff. Now, when the light goes down, you get residuals. Now, everything being absolutely pure, when the sun goes around behind you like this, you see the blue, purple, 360 all the way around. So when the sun is absolutely behind you, you have an evenness. So if the sun is near the horizon here, you're going to get some other different colors as it goes beneath. If you've all been to Alaska or the far north, when you see the sun going around instead of up and down, you get the kind of feel. When it's behind you, you have blue horizon the whole way. So it's black out there, it moves into purple and then blue, and you have that 360 all the way around. Now with a sunset, you may run into noctilucent clouds, which are clouds which go to that gentleman back there in the maroon. You know about noctilucent clouds?
No.
No, they're unbelievable things. It's water vapor that goes to 40 miles above the earth. It's unbelievable you have water vapor that high, but a noctilucent cloud is a gorgeous thing. And it interacts with a sunset. So sometimes you don't know sunset or noctilucent clouds. And if you're lucky, you have aurora. Now, aurora is pink and green based upon what oxygen atoms are recombined, and aurora, now, you get it at the higher latitudes, of course, because aurora is where the magnetic field of Earth is holding high energy particles, and when it dips down at the poles, the very high energy particles run into the air. And of course, they are slowed down, they're tearing up the air, and that change of energy goes into light. And so you have different colored auroras, and the aurora moves. Now, the aurora is like water in a wave. So like a tsunami, the water isn't moving. So, you know, a wave can go 100 miles. The water's not moving. It's only the wave through the water that moves. Aurora is the same way. The air is not moving. Now, so the aurora can move very fast and move over 1,000 miles. And so it's fantastically colorful, and it moves in waves, and it shoots up and down, too. So it's very energetic. Now, you can get the combination of auroras and noctilucent clouds and a sunset where you're not even sure what you're looking at, but it is ethereal, and it is unbelievable. It's god-awful beautiful. And the most powerful experience of space is Earth's air. There is no more powerful experience of space than the air, what the air does. And whether it's the sunsets, whether it's noctilucent clouds, whether when you are going like this and you're bringing things up from the horizon, see, it is you bring things up. The Earth's rotation doesn't matter. You're 16 times faster. And you try to look at your trajectory at times, and you try to see, based on your inclination, can you see Earth's rotation? Can you see objects move a little bit at right angles to you? That's a rotation of Earth. It's almost impossible. So it's you. It's you to bring things up and down. And so, for example, you know, so I'm always going east, of course. I don't fly west, I fly east, right? I'm always got this geometry in my head, I go east. So the North Star up here, the pole star, it's called a pole star because it remains stationary. Because if you took the axis of the Earth and you went straight out of the axis of rotation of the Earth straight out, there's the pole star, the North Star. But you can imagine, does the pole star stay there when I'm in space? It does not. It does not stay there because my velocity is what brings the stars up and down. It's no longer the rotation of the Earth on the axis. So the pole star is doing this. It's no longer the pole star. Some other star has become the pole star. Isn't that funny stuff? So it is you that bring the celestial sphere up and down. But none of this stuff you see talking. You say you haven't heard any of this stuff before, John.
Usually when I see graphic representations of an orbit, it's like a cosine. Is it possible to orbit in a plane?
Well, you are in a plane.
You are in a plane.
The reason it looks like a cosine is because that map is showing you where you are over Earth, and you are in a plane, but the Earth is rotating under you.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it looks like a cosine.
I got you.
The Earth is rotating under you. So the maps you see that look like that is not the fact you're in a plane. It's where are you over the Earth, and it's rotating under you.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'll just keep going just a little bit on what you see.
I never realized until very recently how really, really thin the
Yes.
air, the atmosphere.
It's very thin.
It really is like
Yes,
an orange peel or something.
and that's us.
It's like from here to, I don't know, Bangor, Maine or something. It's not very distant.
That's about what it is. It's it. And when you're out there in space and you have a 4,000-mile radius Earth like that, and you can see the radius, you can see the coverage of Earth, beautiful. That's the air. And you say, uh-oh.
It looks anything.
That's our limit. My point, how am I doing on time, John? Am I
We
running
got
out?
10 minutes.
Man, we're going for hours. I'll keep going a little bit on this. Because it's the richest experience of Earth. But you bring things up and down through the air, and you see them through the air. You see the stars through this little thin film he's talking about. And so when a nice planet rises, you see the planet through the air. You don't have to wait till it's out of the air. You see it through the air. And to look at the stars and the planets through auroral air, it don't get much better. You see green air and yellow air and a noctilucent cloud. The other kind of things are going on. Now you see the meteoroids coming in. They're a big ball out front because that's burning up. Great big tail behind. So I've seen 6 at one time. You're glad you saw them because it made dead hit you on the way.
That's right, that's it.
Thanks, buddy. I got by this time. Well,
You see
it's-
one that just keeps getting bigger but staying in the same place,
no,
that's
you
bad.
don't. That's no, you don't say that too
You
fast.
wouldn't see it, yeah.
You got 120 miles, 120,000 miles an hour. No, and they're not burning up till they get in the air. So if they're going to get you, they're going to get you.
Invisible.
Now, a little aside, but I really want to get back to the visuals. It's half of my windows. I had 6 flights. Half of my windows had to be replaced because they were hit by meteorites. And so there's an internal pane, there's an external pane. The internal pane is maintaining the pressure of the ship. The external pane called the structural pane. And so you float by the pane, and you know you just float by and you look at the way you keep going, and then you come back 5 minutes later, boom, right in the middle. There's the BB. It's not a BB,
Right.
but it's like when a BB hits a window and doesn't shatter it, you have to raise to go up. So here it is. I said, oh. Now you didn't hear it, so because there's a vacuum between that pane. I could talk about listening in space. That happened to me too. But I want to get back to visuals. So you see the meteoroids coming in, and the big ball out front, and its little tail in the back. But you also see the cosmic rays that are going through your eyeballs, and so it's incredibly energetic out there. You know about cosmic rays, sir? You probably know about it.
I know they exist.
What?
Fast and high energy.
Yeah, it's great.
Measurement.
I guess it's great. But, especially the Hubble mission, now it's different. I've talked to plasma physicists, they don't have the answer. The Hubble mission, they streak through your eyeballs. You see them on every flight, but you see punctate dots of white at other times. But you're trying to go to sleep at night, and if at the high latitudes, is where the magnetic field of Earth, the magnetosphere is trapped. It's caught all those particles. And also they're sitting in there in a band right around Earth. And the high latitudes is where that air dips. The magnetic field dips into the pole of Earth. And so it's lower down. And you're scooting right, when you go to high latitudes toward the poles, you're scooting right through that stuff. And so South Atlantic anomaly, in a Hubble mission, I'm trying to go to sleep, and it's ooh. You streak, it's 4th of July in your eyeball. That's really interesting stuff. When they first reported this phenomenon, they couldn't understand it. They thought the radiation was hitting the visual cortex. If I were to stimulate your brain, the visual cortex, you would see things that aren't there. You know, if I took an electrode and I stimulated your brain back here, or if I stimulated your retina inside your eye, you'd see things. Your experience of me stimulating your retina will be you see things that aren't there because you're electrically stimulating those cells. And so they thought it was visual cortex, or they thought it was the retina. But they got volunteers, not me, to put their head in accelerators. Put their head.
They got volunteers for
They
that?
got volunteers to put their head in accelerators.
Why would anybody do that?
Science.
Science, yeah, anything but science. And then they covered lead. See, they put lead in different places. And they got the answer. And the answer is in the liquid part of the eye, and not the visual cortex and not the retina. So the liquid part of the eye. So back to the scenario. You have these shooting stars going like this. And then you have the cosmic rays going, and you say, ooh, man, is that a seed? And so if you come up, you can get them going, you see, and you see them, and then you get to the window frame. And so you're in the window frame to have no distractions, and you're able to see the cosmic rays with the eyes open. Now, you'll not hear anyone report this because they simply didn't try. And so you're having the eyes open now, and you see the meteoroids coming into Earth. You see purple lightning over Australia, which goes horizontal for 100 miles. That's purple lightning for 100 miles. I was the first one to report sprites. That's vertical lightning for 40, 50 miles green. Mine were green. They know I'm a good observer. They record it, but they couldn't say nothing, and they had no name. It was airline pilots that reported enough of that now it became a scientifically accepted phenomenon. Now, they knew I wasn't seeing things, but they just don't know what to do with it. But enough airline pilots reported the same thing from their vantage point, and then it became called sprites. So I saw 2 of them before they even named. Purple lightning, it's just finding its way over 100 miles. You see the moon racing across. You can see the Earth by moonlight or by starlight. I can see Earth with starlight. You are able to see structures with just starlight. Starlight's gorgeous. But before you fly, you look at the kind of moon. The moon's going to affect your observations. If you got a bright moon, hey folks, that's it. And so, you know, that's going to affect your ability to see stars around and that kind of stuff. You got a bright moon. But you see the moon. If the moon's racing across land, you'll see it pick up a river. And it's only lighting the river where the moon reflection is. So it'll go see, it's tearing down the river. It's tearing down the river 18,000 miles an hour. And so it's you're going like this. Try to guess what kind of river you're going down. So you got the aurora, you got the noctilucent clouds, you got the cosmic rays, you got the meteoroids, you got the moon, you got the stars, you got all of this stuff going on. And another neat thing is to fall. And so it was my 4th flight. I'm running out of time, John.
Oh,
But it gets a little bit back to 0G. I had 4 flights and I had never experienced free fall. I'd never experienced a fall. And I'm starting to wonder, what? I am in free fall. I'd like to fall. What I'd love to fall through the dark. I'm a parachutist guy. You ever jumps? I thought it was very funny when I'm going to go out, do a spacewalk out there, go out the door. I said, man, looking down there, it's a heck of a fall. Am I going to have the same reflexes jumping out the door in Orange, Massachusetts? Parachutes Incorporated out here. And so, but I never experienced a free fall because the eyes the eyes get hold of this environment, and I'm floating inside this room. You don't sense, you don't feel a free fall. Floating in this room, you look at a stable environment around you and you say, I am floating in this room. I'm not falling anywhere. Your eyes dictate and dominate the other senses, vestibular system, proprioception, your joint, cardiovascular, all of those things that sense the free fall or zero gravity condition. The eyes dictate to it. So my eyes tyrannize my other senses for 4 missions. And finally, I gotta get an answer to this. So I'm floating around sleeping. So I will sleep floating. After I got rid of the bag, after 2 or 3 nights, sleep floating in space. If you drop yourself perfect, you just hang out there. And that's really magical. You don't know where Earth is. I mean, it's not that you don't even know where you are over Earth. And after a little bit of this, you don't know where the spaceship is. You don't know nothing. And you don't know that you have any limbs. Because when I sleep on Earth, hey, I know what my limb is. They got contact, see? And also, if you sleep on Earth, that's not the neutral position of your joints. So there's tension across these joints. So my elbow, it's got flexion, it's got extension, but on 0G, it arrives at the neutral point where the flexion force is the same as the extension. And so every single joint you have arrives at the neutral point. You're not in contact, so your limbs, they're not there anymore. So you don't know where Earth is, you don't know where you are over Earth, you don't know where the spaceship is around you, and you don't know where your limbs are.
So you have to kind of
And you
just
say,
accept it.
oh man. But some people, that's disturbing, but for me, I say, give it to me, baby. Wow. Is
Torso in space.
this is the greatest thing that ever happened. So, I'll wrap up. We're getting out of time here. I never experienced a sense of falling through the dark, which I thought, I'm floating around in a room, I'm in not contact with anything, my eyes are not there to tell me I'm floating inside a cabin. I'm not free falling. I want to fall through the dark. Like parachute, I will fall out through a night fall. I couldn't do it, but I went to Maroon Bells in my imagination, Colorado, as a cliff that's very vivid in my mind. I took myself imaginatively to that cliff and I stepped off, free fall.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Huh.
And people say, stories all playing mind games. Yes, to arrive at the truth. Not mind games to create an illusion. Mind games to find out where spaceflight really is. If I'm floating nowhere and my eyes are closed, my vestibular system is telling me I'm free fall, my cardiovascular system is around pump blood, that's free fall, all the tensions here, muscle spindles, they all tell me I'm a free fall. So I should experience free fall. The mind game I played of stepping off, I'll finish up. Stepping off, I needed that to trigger the neurophysical, you are falling. So now, I've fallen through the dark. And at first, oh, that's not so good, that's not so fun, it's scary. But I went back, did it again. But then I got to good, I could fall anytime I wanted to. And falling through the dark, best you can do. So you don't know nothing. You don't know where Earth is, you don't know where over Earth, you don't know, you got no limbs, and you're falling through the dark, it don't get any better than that. But so I'll finish up here. When you're in the window, you got all the lights off, you're doing the aurora, noctilucent clouds, you're doing the cosmic rays, all the rest of that stuff. If you stay in the window frame, so there's absolutely no hint of an environment, a stable environment behind you, you are falling. You are falling. So you're falling through the stars. While all this visual thing is going on, you're falling through the stars. You don't go toward the stars and you don't go away from them because free fall is directionless. That fooled me. I fall, but I want to fall down a cloud like a free fall. I want to fall towards Earth. I said, I want to fall, that'll really startle me. If I can fall towards, I can never fall toward or away from anything. And I said, what's wrong with this problem? But I got back on Earth after my 4th flight, and I did the stupid experiment. I'm in an elevator. It's a spherical elevator. It got no structure, no architectural structure. It's got homogeneous light all around it. I evacuate below, so there's no viscosity, no drag. I cut the cable. And I'm inside that sphere, and I move around, and then I stop. Do I know the direction of Earth? I don't. There's no, I'm just floating inside the sphere. Do I know where I'm falling? I don't. So now, by doing that analogy, I found out that free fall is in fact directionless perception. So it should be directionless, because if I'm falling in that elevator, that sphere, I don't know which way is down. I'm just falling and floating inside the sphere. I got no idea. So now, in the window, in free fall condition, falling through the stars, yes, I don't fall toward the stars or away, so that's a not pass. Okay. I guess our time is up. You guys are a great audience. I'm going down to sign stuff now. If you want more of these things, my website is storymusgrave.com. Story Musgrave, like my name, storymusgrave.com.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're getting fun stuff.
Getting good stuff, excellent stuff. But I'm so glad you guys went up there. I'm so
Yeah, a
glad.
little bit too.
Absolutely.